Hello everyone, I'm Gian and this is Whale FM Project Showcase. In this show we talk with founders and projects in the crypto art and NFT space, otherwise known as non-fungible tokens. My guest today is Coopahtroopa, who is a core contributor to the FWB community, a group chat full of our favorite thinkers and creators. Think of FWB like any other social network, a space that has value because of the content and ideas of the users that the social network create and share. So thank you so very much, Coopahtroopa, for having joined us. Everyone here has for sure already heard of FWB. That doesn't mean that they are sure of what FWB is. So today we're gonna fix that. How are you, man?
I'm living the dream, man. Thank you for having me on. That was a wonderful intro. I very much like the beats and editing. It looked fantastic.
Oh my God, thank you so much. I don't deserve that.
It's great.
No, but like, first of all, you are a very prominent member on the NFT space and you are involved with a few projects. So why don't you start by giving a little background about yourself and what you did before starting with the FWB community?
Sure. So long story short, I work on everything creator economy. I'm really passionate about helping creators find ways to leverage crypto in new and exciting ways. So what this takes the form of is a bunch of projects that are helping to support creators, mainly ones like Audius, which is a digital streaming platform, advising a fund called Variant, which is funding new startups, contributing to projects like FWB, helping RAC with his social token, doing token and governance design through a DAO called FireEyes, and then writing for amazing outlets like The Defiant. There's a bunch of stuff in between there that I'm working on day to day, but largely just trying to push the needle forward on things that help to, push the needle on creator economies, NFTs, social tokens, all that good stuff that excites the mainstream user, really unpacking that and figuring out what it takes to help us get to a new audience that we can help creators get paid and do cool stuff in this world.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that's amazing. No, it's interesting because creators economy, it's something that is being mentioned, but it's being mentioned a lot, but it took a long time for us to have tools to actually use it, to have communities to actually share, right? So it's really nice to see because I think our project's vision has a overlap, right? It's not totally the same, but it has an overlap in the way our philosophy within the community. So I love that. So if you want to do a brief rundown and then we go through the deets after, what would you say FWB is about?
I would say FWB is a culture crypto community. This is basically a place where anyone new or experienced in crypto can come and hang out to talk about the way that this technology is helping to advance our society as a whole. It's everything from talking about NFTs to getting local city guides to learning about new food and music. Just a fun place to hang out. I think what the pandemic showed is that we really are seeking ways to connect with others in a digital world. And so for me, FWB has been a really great breeding ground just to find and meet really creative people. And, for me, that's led to a lot of really amazing IRL relationships. And it has also given me a home to sort of bring cool and exciting ideas and just have conversations about all of the stuff that's happening in crypto that all of us are so passionate about.
Yeah, definitely, dude. And I am going to be posting the link for the FWB Discord, and everyone should check it out. So why don't you tell us a little bit about this is an important aspect of the FWB community. What are the requirements to participate?
Yeah, so the first thing I'll call out is we have a token called FWB. This is the token used to access the Discord. So in the same way that we see token permission channels with Whale, for the FWB community, we have a token that is needed to access the group. And as of the past couple of weeks, we've actually implemented a host committee system where if you purchase enough tokens, we have you go through a very light application process just to make sure that you're a real human and that you're bringing in good intentions. So if you actually click on that apply button that you see over on the left-hand side there, you can sort of see what I'm talking about. This is basically a really light form just to come and hang out on the server, Step 1, join the Discord. Step 2, get some tokens. And Step 3, complete the member application. And I'll stick on this point for a second because I think it's really important. A few weeks ago, we had a pretty tragic event happen in the social token community where a lot of tokens got obliterated on secondary markets. And what happened as a result of that is that we had a lot of people who were able to purchase 60 FWB basically for free. And up until that point, we had been curating a community for 6 to 9 months of really incredible members. We saw this influx of people trying to come in, about 5,000 new members trying to join. And so we sort of created this funnel to help make sure that the people who were coming into the community felt really in line with our missions of just inclusivity, of positivity, of change and cultural appreciation. And so what we've created with this member application is a system where you take 2 minutes to fill out a little form. You talk about yourself, what your interests are, how you heard about the group, really basic stuff. And then behind the scenes in Discord, we have a group of about 15 community members that are constantly vetting all the new applications that come in, just kind of giving you a thumbs up, say, hey, come and hang out. And then from there, we allow you to sync your wallet and get access to the full Discord. But I think that this is a really small nuance with our community that definitely adds some friction. I will say that, but it's definitely been a great way for us to be able to prevent, a flood of intake from, members that were able to either to game their way in or maybe that were coming in with less, just more malicious intent in their mind. So it's a really cool learning experience. And for those that haven't joined yet, I'd encourage you to snag some tokens, drop an application. It's really more of a funnel than it is meant to be intimidating or to keep people out. So I think it's a fun system. I'm excited to see that it's been working really well. In the past 2 weeks since season 2 has started in early April, I guess it's longer than that now, about a month. We've seen a really rapid intake of community members and a really strong community output. And I'm really excited to see, where we go from here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's beautiful. Being handling a Discord with a huge community is challenging sometimes. So I suppose, although, as you said, it adds a small bit of friction, but the end result may be a community that has higher quality of content, that has, as you said, you're already aware of people's intention, and though it removes a little bit of the hard part after, right? Because you don't expect people to throw around, you don't expect people to be awful to each other, which happens sometimes. So it's an interesting trade-off, and this is one that is worth going through for sure. It shouldn't deter anyone from joining the community.
Absolutely. I'll add on there that I think social capital is the most important thing in the world. With social tokens, we see a direct financial value associated to social capital. And while I think this is extremely exciting, in events like what happened a couple months ago, we see these small windows where people are able to finesse their way into a social capital community that maybe they haven't earned or haven't, been able to be a part of from the beginning. And so, again, I'll highlight that this was a new process, one that I haven't seen before in social tokens, where you do need to fill out a form to get into a group. But I think this is a really fun way for us to empower community members. We have 15 active FWB contributors who are day in and day out looking at new applications, having discussions about members, welcoming them into the community once they get involved. And it's been fun. And I think it sets a nice larger precedent where we have a ton of members in our community who are really active and willing to help support the group in a variety of different ways. And being able to create these pockets and committees for people to get involved is sort of a first step towards this wider vision of having everyone in the community being able to step up into whatever role they see fit and be able to earn some tokens as a result of that action.
Mm-hmm. Yes, definitely. Yeah, it's good that you mentioned, because I do agree this is the greatest means of exchange of financial capital for social capital. We have never had the opportunity to have this as accessible, but you cannot have it like it too accessible. Otherwise, it doesn't work, right? We know how that goes. If it is totally and completely open for those who are not necessarily in line with the vision, they will ruin it for others. So definitely agree with you on that. And when you make sure that people are engaged and the vision is aligned, then it can be as rewarding as possible in various different means, like either through financial capital, but also with social capital, right?
Totally.
connecting people. It's a beautiful concept.
Totally, and I'll call out there on the right-hand side, we have that events page at the top right side of the screen. One of the reasons why this is so important is that we've been curating some really fantastic events with, leading minds in both crypto and beyond. We've had musicians like Tycho, icons in the community like Bomani on Clubhouse, a bunch of these really awesome people, Joey Rubin doing some cooking events, just stopping by and having, really wholesome conversations with our community. And I think the one thing that I'm really proud of is how welcoming those groups are, so that when these people come in for the first time and they talk about what they're passionate about and sort of the projects they're working on, we'll typically have anywhere from 50 to 100 members just hanging out in Discord, making them feel really welcome and having these really wholesome experiences. And while I do think that that's important to open that up to allow people to come and join, I do think it's really important to recognize that everyone has shared skin in the game in FWB. We've curated a community that has a really nice ethos to it, and I believe a strong reason why the guests that we have get so excited by the conversations they have in FWB is because we've done such a good job of, moderating and maintaining who's able to join that community and making sure that they're always bringing positive energy and sort of helping to lift up and make sure that we have a great vibe going at all times.
Definitely. There was something that I was thinking the other day, and you touched upon it. It's like, I think it's important for people to understand, because sometimes people over rely on the token aspect, on the future DAO perspectives that projects have. Is that the most important thing, like keeping us apart from the malpractice that we see in the regular and mainstream social spaces, is the ethos of the community, really, and cultivating an appropriate sentiment is what keeps this space special, and we're trying to set the base so it maintains itself like this for the future, right? So yeah, definitely I recommend everyone to check out this amazingly packed schedule and to hang with their community. So you guys have quite a bit of stuff here. Jesus.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I'll call out one of our community members, Alex Zhang, has been doing a fantastic job of programming. Derek Taylor running Coffee Time. We have a bunch of people that are stepping up and doing recurring events that they're really owning up and living up to. And I think a big thing for me, when you think about social tokens and the value that you get out of them, just the act of joining a Discord with the social token is cool for the first couple times you do that. But beyond that, making sure that space feels really valuable to its members. This is one of the key metrics that we're optimizing for, is how, when I come into FWB Discord, do I always feel like there's something active and exciting happening? And we believe these events are just a small portion of that. So today that might just be on the Discord. Tomorrow that might be an IRL event at a crypto conference at a local bar or something like that. We're seeing a lot of cool activities where members are going and hanging out on the weekend in LA, going to pop-ups, going to get food and stuff like that. And I think this sort of shared ownership of value in the form of the FWB token, it offers a really cool incentive alignment game where people want to go out of their way and hang out with one another because they know that everyone is taking the time and effort to get in here in the first place. And there's a lot of cool stuff to be done on top of that. So yeah, I'm really stoked about it. We've created a really cool spot, and I'm really excited for what that's grown into today.
That's really, really cool, man. So why don't you tell us a little bit more about your other team members and the people behind the project besides
For
you?
sure. Yeah, so the main one I'll call out is obviously the founder of FWB, Trevor McFedries, really close friend of mine. He's had decades of experience working with creators, formerly as a DJ, more recently as the founder of a company called Brud. They create virtual influencers and help to curate storylines around, what headless brands look like in a digital world. So there's a project called Little Michaela that he helped founded. And I think what I've learned from Trevor is that, digital value is very hard to quantify today. We have social media experiences like Instagram and Facebook and Twitter and Snapchat and all these things, but they're very disparate and they're very fragmented. And the one thing that's really special about Web3 and something that Trevor's done a fantastic job of with Little Michaela is just making everything feel very community owned and operated. So for Trevor, when he started this group, just basically creating a space for all of his friends to come hang out online was sort of V1 of this. When I joined, I kind of hopped into the Discord in the very early days and saw that there was a bunch of people I had never seen before in crypto circles that were genuinely cool and exciting and just passionate about crypto. And so him creating this space for us to come hang out was really, really fantastic. I'll kind of pause there for a second. We can talk a little bit about Trevor founding the project, any questions you have there, and then maybe from there I can go into some other contributors we have.
That would be perfect. Let's go.
Yeah, so I mean, like I said, Trevor is kind of the founder of FWB. I'd like to say that I'm quote unquote first hire. Again, it's a DAO, so that's not really a thing, but I got very early involved with the project in its earliest days. Helped to just flesh out the community a little bit more, helped on the token side of things, getting some stuff in place with governance and just setting up some important programs on the back end. Outside of Trevor, we have a staff of about 7 members that are showing up to weekly calls doing things. Alex Zhang, like I mentioned, Derek Taylor, Dexter Torrentino doing some amazing stuff on Discord, Rayhan, who's modding the community from day to day, Jesse Gushak, who's helping out with a lot of strategy and token type events. And then beyond that, I think our team's just growing by the week. We have a host committee of 15 different members that are helping to get people involved. We have people running, weekly events, like I mentioned, Jerry Rubin, Max Payne, as you can see right there. And now we have a governance committee, which is really exciting. So we've onboarded 2 or 3 members from the community alongside some staff to help to go through the governance process, form proposals, help to do intake with new events that are happening. And yeah, I mean, the circle grows so large that it's hard for me to point out any one individual because everyone's adding so much value in so many different places. But it's been really beautiful watching it grow from a Discord of about 100 people to now we're up to close to 1,000 members with FWB role, and probably 20 to 30 of which are all getting some form of token rewards on a monthly basis. And I expect this to just keep growing and growing over the coming months here.
Oh, that was a perfect answer. You practiced this one, I can tell.
All off the cuff, baby.
No, dude, it's a beautiful background. It's a beautiful background for a team. So many different capabilities, so many different talents, and as you said, people handle a lot of different stuff, right? To be a staff member and handling Discord means a lot of different things, and to put forth events, etc., etc., etc. So it requires a lot of coordination. It's important that you said, like, oh, you have this weekly call, because it does require a lot of coordination to be able to properly use and direct those talents for the growth of the community.
Totally. I'd be curious to see, maybe if it's cool with you, I could share my screen for a second. I'd love to just sort of give everyone a sneak peek to kind of the community that we've curated and what this onboarding flow looks like, just to help better conceptualize some of the ideas that I'm talking about.
Of course, that would be amazing. Please. Let's
cool.
Go.
Let's see here. Share screen. See if I can get this going. Let me know how that looks there.
No, that was okay. Perfect.
Awesome. So yeah, like you can see here, we have this welcome message. So everyone who joins the community gets hit with the little instructions on how to get involved. Like I said, you hold tokens, you apply to a membership form. Once accepted, you get a role. What I'll call out here that's really cool is we built some really awesome Discord tooling. So once I make an application here, it goes into the host committee form. This is where you can see people's applications for everything that they've been working on. We have the community upvoting different members. When they've been approved, they'll receive an email saying they've been welcome to join the community. And this will give them access to this Wallet Connect channel. In here, this is where people can go ahead and sync to get the role to join the community. And after that, you get basically opened up to all of these channels that we have going on here. So I won't spend too much time in any single one of them. The one I will come out that's pretty exciting is introductions. So once you get involved in the community, you get a role. People have been really fantastic about sharing who they are, what they're working on, what their different interests are. We have a really loving vibe. So when you get involved, you get this role here, FWB, that you can see. This allows you to access all of the channels that you're used to. And for those that aren't aware, we're using a tool called Collabland under the hood. So once you connect your wallet, it checks to make sure that you're holding 60 FWB tokens. And so long as you are holding those tokens, you maintain this FWB role. If you are to sell your tokens, it automatically kicks you out of the group and you kind of have to go through the whole flow again. And so within this channel, you can see here, we have a bunch of different channels going on. We have governance here, which is where I'm kind of typically hanging out, a bunch of places to learn, some trading channels, some NFT chats, which are really active. As you can see here, talking about today's MeBits launch and whatnot. We have some cool stuff for music NFTs for our musicians that are releasing music. Scrolling down a little bit more, we have a bunch of lifestyle channels, foods, books, gaming, all that you can mention. We have some book clubs. So this last week, I was a part of a book club with some members where we read Parable of the Sower for a month, and then we came together and talked to one another. We have these city guides that we're starting to build out. So if you're in LA and you want to have fun spots to hang, people are dropping recommendations. We're doing all these meetups and stuff like that.
Oh my God, that's so cool.
Yeah, and then we have a bunch of voice channels. So when we do town halls, we'll bring people in. Last week we had the main stage, which we brought Whale Shark onto just to talk to the community, and
Hmm.
coffee time, like I mentioned, for those weekly events, and then a bunch of archive stuff that we've kind of played around with. But what I want to get across here is there really is a space for everyone, and my goal with this community is to create a space where, regardless of how active or where you are about crypto, there's a channel for you to be able to hang out, come talk about things you're passionate about, and just get involved on a deeper level.
Oh no, I can definitely see that. Jesus Christ. And dude, you were flexing the RAM on me right there. How many tabs is that?
Not as much as some of my colleagues, I'll tell you that much.
Oh yeah, no, but it's on the higher end. It's on the higher end.
Yeah.
No, definitely. I love the idea for the channels. I also would like to say that for the community who's checking that, don't be intimidated. It's the exact same process as requiring to have Dolphin. I mean, in the bot part of things, our role system is handled in the exact same way. So you should be familiar with that. Of course, we will have to do the small application form, but other than that, the bot side of things, it's not a different bot; it's the same thing. So definitely give it a try. It's pretty straightforward, to be honest.
Totally, man. And I mean, once you get involved, that's kind of the heaviest lift, like basically getting applied to the community, syncing your wallet and getting that role. Beyond that, it's basically you're in and you can kind of go from there. I think over the long term, our goals are to be able to put tokens to use in a more active way, actions like staking and kind of delegating tokens and whatnot. But for V1 of this, holding tokens in a MetaMask wallet and adding a custom token to connect to Discord, that's a pretty big lift. And I think for a lot of us that have been in crypto for a long time, we forget about how challenging things are for beginners, and specifically getting on Discord. I've met a lot of friends here who love the idea of FWB. They've never used Discord before. So that's a challenge. They've never used MetaMask before. So that's a challenge. And so, if people are willing to go through that list of getting tokens in a wallet and joining our group, I'm willing to say that they're in the top 5% of all technically literate people in the world. So I'm definitely very happy and proud of the process we've set up. And we're constantly iterating to make that as smooth and easy for people as possible.
Yeah, sometimes we forget how difficult it is to get started because it's like so natural. And I don't know about you, man, but I'm Discord maximalist. I think this is the
Oh
superior
yeah.
social media platform, and the more people are in here, the better, because then I don't need to go for the other ones.
Right.
So yeah, I agree with you on that. Just to think of the channels and the possibilities. Like you guys have city guides, man. That's amazing. If I'm going to be traveling to the US, I'm definitely going to check that out. I love that idea.
Totally. Yeah, I'd love to
Foods,
answer.
books, etc. Man, no, it's pretty cool. Go ahead, sorry,
Totally.
Peter.
No worries. I'd love to answer this question from the chat here. Nightmare said, something like this hasn't been done before under the hood. Is it a new experience? Although it may not be the case. When trying to find info a couple of months ago, I thought as if it was intentionally obtuse. I will say that, yeah, we try and keep things at FWB pretty close to the chest, just because we have a lot of members in there that are opening up and sharing a lot of information that we feel is private, and we don't necessarily want to make that public for that reason. I think something that we can do better about is sort of helping people understand what's happening in FWB on a day-to-day basis. Things like our city guides and like our book clubs, publicly facing. We're not super active on Twitter because we like how engaged everyone is on Discord. But I think we're working on some explainer videos. We're working on a couple of projects that I think are going to be very exciting for people who aren't directly in the community, doing roundups of stuff that's happening in the group, providing information. And so, while the Discord itself will probably never be read only for all of our channels, we are going to find ways to pull out the cool stuff that's going on and just make sure we're sharing those insights with the wider community, so that regardless of if you hold 60 FWB or not, you're still able to keep up with, a lot of the trends and the ideas that are being talked about as kind of just a culturally relevant place to hang out in crypto and culture beyond.
Perfect. So, I have the most important question. I was going to hold this for the end, but I can't. Who designed the logo?
That's Trevor.
Trevor is a genius. This is amazing.
Yeah, you can drag it around the page and stuff if you want. It's pretty funny.
Oh wait. Why is this a feature?
No clue.
Okay, I like it. All right, so another question coming from the community. I'm curious, what are your thoughts about FWB as an investment, e.g., upside beyond the networking aspect? Do you think about it that way? And so, what might be a catalyst beyond just the community growth?
Totally. I'd start out by saying that I would not classify FWB as an investment. I think the way that we think about this is an access token that has governance, right, over a really exciting community. So just kind of nailing that off the bat, I've been pretty deeply engaged in crypto and token economies for the past 4 years. What excites me about FWB as a project is the level of participation from our members in forming products around community. So whether that's open sourcing Discord tool stacks, whether that's finding ways to mint and curate NFTs with which a portion of those fees go back into a DAO treasury. There's a lot of projects that we're working on that will become productized and allow us to sort of grow our treasury in a way that's really exciting. But the one thing I want to make sure is that, we've never looked at FWB from a price perspective of how much is this token worth. We always try and value it based on the strength of the community. And I think that the price of FWB is a mere reflection of how strong that community is. So there's going to be some stuff that helps us to further seed our treasury in a way that's attractive to token holders, but I would just be very, open and intentional in the sense that we're not actively looking to drive token price on a day-to-day. We're actively looking to try and create really amazing experiences for our community members, and we believe that so long as we do that, and so long as we create products around that, I think that the token will take care of itself.
All right. Oh, another question here from Nightmare. Is there a geographic/metropolitan focus? Some who have had exposure have mentioned there seems to be an LA/Hollywood connection in a good way. So if that's the place you want to network with, FWB is a great place to be. So would you say that is the case?
Yeah, I'm based in LA here, and I've met up with probably 10 to 15 people from the community thus far. They're all really cool people, and we're doing meetups here almost every week at this point. I think Trevor is based in LA, so naturally our network started from here, but we're trying to make an active effort to grow and expand that to a global community. Those city chats I mentioned are largely US based for the most part, but we also have a lot of members in Australia, New Zealand, places in Europe. And so it's my belief if you come back to FWB in a year or two from now, I think you're going to have pockets of cool and exciting people hanging out basically everywhere in the world. And so it's just a matter of, taking the time for word of mouth to spread naturally so that we can have that happen really organically and not try and front run ourselves too much.
Oh, yeah, definitely. You cannot cover what you don't know, right? So keep yourself one that you're familiar, and that's where you can add the most value, right? What is the sign-up cost, and is there a monthly subscription cost?
Great question. So there is no sign-up cost. You need to hold 60 FWB tokens to get into the current season. If you go to that tab on the left that says seasons, this is a great opportunity to talk about this. So with FWB, what we wanted to do is make sure that we're always rewarding active participation in the community. So the very first season, it cost, before the first season, it was just 50 FWB to join. That was what the group started off as. As we started to ramp up, we wanted to make sure that we were rewarding people who were active in the community for participating. And so every quarter we bump up the amount of FWB necessary to stay in the group by 5 tokens. What this does is it allows active members to stay involved. We use a tool called SourceCred basically to distribute FWB to members based on how active and engaged they've been in the Discord channel. And so if you're in there from a day-to-day basis, interacting with community and doing cool stuff, you're able to basically earn the amount of tokens necessary to enter the next season. And if you are not involved, frankly, it's on you to go out and make sure that you top up to purchase tokens to remain in the group. And we believe this is a great way just to churn everything, make sure that new members are being rewarded if they're active, and making sure that inactive members kind of need to make sure they check back in if they want to remain a part of the community. So if you see that seasons tab on the left there, we have a quick overview on how this works. But like I said, TLDRs hold 60 FWB to be a part of the community. There's no monthly cost. If at any point in time you don't want to be a part of FWB, you're free to do with your tokens what you wish. But what we've seen is we've had incredibly high retention rates from people that join the community because the value in there is so strong that typically people never sell their tokens once they're a part of the community in the first place.
Why would they?
No idea.
No, definitely. So I would like to ask, and you feel free to talk about the unfortunate event or not. But what are some challenges that you guys have faced developing a social token, and how it was to try and overcome them?
Yeah, I mean, the challenges are no different from any other social token community. Onboarding is a process that we're all working through, making sure that tokens are accessible and digestible to new members. The idea of a gated community is really amazing on paper, but it's really difficult in practice. So just trying to help people better understand what it means to own tokens, what it means to use those tokens as access. Those are kind of the high level questions that we've dealt with. I think for the event that you're referring to a few weeks ago with the social token hack, unfortunately, we had one of the most liquid social token pools that were out there alongside Whale. And so when that event happened, basically all of our liquidity was lost from that. Luckily, we had a lot of community members rally together to help support and migrate that event forward. And so for those who weren't aware, we migrated from a token that was on roll into our own token, wrote our own smart contracts, changed the supply, did a token airdrop to members and to previous members, and basically just helped reset the scoreboard. I think that was a really amazing community bonding experience, both from the FWB community and from the Whale community. Everyone in the social token space was really bonding together to help get through that. And I believe now with where we're at with a new token that's called FWB Pro, I think we're in a really great spot. Our token supply is distributed in a really fair and equitable way. We have an on-chain DAO at FWB.DAO.eth that you can check out all of our holdings. And we're operating on the same basis as you see any other DeFi project in crypto. And to me, this is a really exciting foundation for us to just keep leading the charge and trying to do everything we can alongside communities like Whale to show that social tokens are something to be taken very seriously and that we have every bit of value to offer as any other token project does today.
And this was exactly, I believe, an answer, accidentally answering a community question. Let's see if we forgot to cover something on that end. Can you share the thought process post-roll hack and reestablishing as a new token? Many in this community look to support projects that had found themselves affected and bought in with the intention of reestablishing liquidity and becoming active in the community. Yeah, so it's important to clarify that you guys took measure to guarantee that people were not simply left behind, right? So yeah, let's go through that if possible.
Yeah, so let me pull up a cool post here because I think it's worth diving into. This was a pretty big decision in our community, and I would love to just be able to have everyone take a look at this. So I'll share my screen here really quick. We can kind of talk about some of the nuance here. So from a high level, basically what happened is as a result of that hack, our token price dropped about 99% in the span of 2 minutes. This was something that was pretty detrimental to us. And so while the preference would have been not to have to change tokens, I think based on what happened, we had a pretty glaring path ahead of us. We basically put this to a Discord poll and asked our community what we wanted to do. As you guys can see here, overwhelming support in favor of making a new token. And so what we did is we basically launched a new token, but made sure that we wanted to replace it by airdropping it to members who held tokens before. So as you can see here, I'll just summarize it very quickly. If you held tokens prior to the hack, you were airdropped it on a 1-to-1 basis. If you were a member who held tokens prior to the hack, but you bought more during the hack, you were rewarded on a 0.25-to-1 basis. And if you had never held tokens before the hack and you only tried to scoop it when it was basically free, we still rewarded you on a 0.1-to-1 basis. And so we tried to make sure to accommodate every type of token holder. What I want to make clear here is that we drastically favored our existing members. We wanted to make sure that this was basically the distribution that we retained with. And as you can see here, we launched a new token, 1 million token supply, and broke this down in a pretty standard way to any other token distribution where we had team, community treasury, liquidity providers, and the circulating supply. And so to answer the question that I saw here in the chat, what was the thought process behind this? Just resetting the slate. I think that what happened was a pretty detrimental event. And just looking at that chart for the FWB price, there was too much uncertainty there. I think that there was a lot of open questions about, the future of the provider we were using at that time. And while I definitely think they've rebounded perfectly, I think for us, we were at a point where we were far enough along as a community and we were, capable enough as a team to be able to relaunch a token in a really meaningful way. And so for us going out of our way, starting a new token, and then doing everything we could to be supportive of other creators who are affected, We also just recently did a token swap with Whale to try and diversify community treasuries. We wanted to basically show that we were capable of moving forward on our own. Like, we're a community that's strong enough that we don't need handholding anymore. And so everything beyond that has basically just been continuous steps to becoming independent and autonomous as a community and really taking power and ownership over the space that we operate in today.
And it's important to well, people have to understand that an event like that can destroy and completely kill a community. To be resilient enough to go through that and to be able to face it, to address it, and to continue and to be here where I would say probably today we have moved past the consequences of the event, and communities have managed to do that, some better, some worse, but a few died in the process, to be honest. And that's really sad considering the efforts that people were doing. So this is different for everyone, but as you said, I'm happy to see people managing one way or the other. So we have a question here. Oh my God, this is an interesting one. What most separates FWB from Whale?
I think just the specific members themselves. I think there is some crossover, but the two communities, one in Whale, I think is extremely crypto native. As a member of Whale myself, being there since the inception of it, most of those members are extremely well versed with the metaverse. They're very well versed in NFTs. They're very well versed in what's happening in, the intersection of social tokens and DAOs and whatnot. And while FWB has a lot of those members, I think the key difference is that many of our members are very new to crypto. They've just recently downloaded MetaMask. They just heard about crypto for the first time this year. They're really culturally literate. They run coffee shops and bakeries and, have been involved in design products and Web2 for a very long time, but they're just starting to get into the Web3 weeds. And so the biggest difference I would say is that, the on-ramp of people coming into FWB is very much coming from I have been involved in technology for a long time, but I'm super new to crypto. And now I want to learn what's going on here. Versus Whale, which at least from my end is this is a really strong community of people who have been in the community for 3 to 4 years. And they want to further, align themselves on these topics like NFTs and like DAOs. And so there's a ton of overlap there, but I think that the members themselves are very unique. And I think beyond that, a lot of the stuff that we're working on now with, NFTs and sort of all the stuff that Whale's working on with digi-physical merchandise, just kind of finding ways to push the technology forward in new and creative ways. And kind of the products that we see around that, I think, will be slightly different over the coming months here.
So yeah. On that end, I would like to ask you what is how does this focus around Web3 and NFT works on FWB is because Whale we have the vault, right? But you guys are also a community of developers. So how does that tie up with the community?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, we have an on-chain DAO at FWBDAO.eth. This is where we're storing the vast majority of FWB tokens. This is where we have some developer funds to be able to allocate to projects, and where we'll very soon be storing NFTs that we collect and also NFTs that we commission. So something I'm really excited about is Zora, and they've recently released an open source auction house contract. And I'm sharing a little bit of alpha here. We're working on a really cool product around how FWB can act as a curator, and more broadly thinking of FWB as a curation community, where whether it's NFTs, social tokens, music, city guides, if you want to know what the best blank is in any category, we want to create funnels and products to be able to source that information. So specifically to NFTs, I think we're going to see some really cool stuff around the curation standpoint of new and emerging artists. And then beyond that, if you're ever looking for kind of real-time information on where the best music is, what the best cities are, best restaurants to go to, FWB is basically your home. Just get some really valuable opinions from really high-profile people.
Beautiful. Going a little bit off script here about the creator tokens and social communities. What did you personally thought about BitClout?
Yeah, so I claim my profile on BitClout. I think it's a really fascinating experiment. And specifically here in LA, I've had 20 to 25 people reach out to me who have never touched crypto before, asking what BitClout was and how to get involved. And so for me, I'm really open to hearing about new things that come onto the horizon, and I want to be aware of what's driving people to make those decisions. To me, what stood out about that is a really clear demand to be able to invest in your friends. being able to just financially support creators that you're passionate about. I think that BitClout really hit the nail on the head with that. Obviously that comes with a lot of scrutiny on both the speculation standpoint, on sort of the ethos of what that community looks like. So admittedly, I have not been active on BitClout. I've sort of kept aware of it from the peripherals, but I know there's a very vibrant Discord or developer community happening now with things like BitSwap and all these other communities going on there. So long story short, I think that it was a really great experiment in the direction of creator tokens. And I think while it's getting packaged better now, I think that there's a vibrant future in which you can be a part of any creator project that you want to, and there's upside to be gained from that experience as well.
This wasn't on the script, but it's interesting how it relates to our experiences, right? We are, of course, shared communities, not like personal profile or anything, but it tells us directions that this space can go towards, right? And I think that's pretty cool. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm just going to add on there that I know Whale shares this sentiment, but I think the ability for creators on BitClout to experience social tokens with minimal overhead is really powerful. If you want to start a social token today, there's tools that make this easier, but there's definitely a lot of overhead required with getting that off the ground and making it have value. So being able to come to a platform that has a token already made for you, I think that's a really wonderful space to build in. And I know on my end, I'm definitely keeping aware of what's happening there, talking actively to the people who are most active on there, and just trying to understand what's driving people, because I think there's a lot to be, learned from sort of the incentives behind BitClout and the ways in which creators are playing around with the creator economy in a very fast and easy way to just kind of get started and get your feet wet.
Yeah, right. I think the way that it uses a familiar concept removes so much attrition. Like, of course, there is the fact that it is pretty simple, but when everyone knows Twitter, right? So you grab that place that everyone already knows how to handle and already knows how to like mentally place it, and on top of it, you have this token aspect. And when people get familiar with that, it makes it easier for everyone then to get to learn the rest about this space, and even MetaMask and wallets, etc., which by the end of the day, people will have to get some education on one way or the other.
Totally agreed.
Social tokens rely on having a strong community with active members. So what do you consider to be a good community member?
I consider a good community member someone who's active and passionate about the areas that they spend time in. It's not a mention of like how much value do you have to bring, like what is your experience, so long as you're approaching community with a positive mindset and just trying to be considerate of other people's opinions. If you're in the Discord on a day-to-day basis, just contributing to conversations, I'd say you're a fantastic community member. I think more loosely from that, if you're a member of the community that's not active, but you're upholding the name in a really positive manner, talking to FWB about your friends, kind of sharing the ethos and the missions that we support as a community, I'd say all of that kind of falls into the category of being a good member, and everything above that is just sort of icing on the cake for the extra value that you bring, the events you program, the channels that you frequently visit, and kind of all the above.
A beautiful question and a beautiful answer. Classy J, thank you so much for that one. So Nightmare has asked, the value of FWB went parabolic in February/March, and deservedly so. What are the token economics and game theory that drove that? Are there other mechanisms for the token usage in the community beyond the hold to join?
Great question. The short answer that I mentioned earlier is when people join FWB, they typically don't leave. And so you basically had an ecosystem in which members were rapidly flocking to join our community. We had built out a really strong base at that point that's only continuing to grow. But basically, I think the word of mouth conversation just went viral, whether it was here in LA or beyond. I had people reaching out to me basically all the time, asking about what it was, how to get involved. And we had curated such a strong group of members that I think it's just natural that people were excited to kind of get involved. I think for your question around tokenomics and game theory and what's going to be happening beyond hold to join, I mentioned before, curation is sort of the main thing that I want to focus on for FWB. And so when you think about things like token curated registries, like old ideas that got kind of left behind in 2017, I think just as we're seeing now with NFTs and the revitalization of old ideas that weren't ready for their time yet, I imagine a world in which FWB can actively be staked to participate in curation. And the more that we find ways to facilitate and surface high quality information using tokens, the catalyst to do that, I think there's going to be a lot of really exciting ways in which, FWB is actively used, and then which it can actually be used to participate in things like curated NFT drops and, token gated IRL events, things that are kind of above and beyond the standard Discord hold to join, but that offer opportunities to access, really cool Web3 products that I think have a lot of value outside of just being in a Discord channel.
Definitely see that, man. Oh, this is an interesting one. You guys we're going in the sensitive subjects. We have heard there was some healthy conversation and debate regarding the token swap with Whale, with some cordial objections. From your perspective, what do you think were the primary points of contention? Interesting.
I think that's
Good
a fantastic question. Yeah, so I'll share here again. We had a governance vote here to basically swap 100K worth of FWB for 100K worth of Whale. And as you can see from the results here, this is actually our most contentious decision to date. Basically, we had a lot of community debate around whether or not we should do this swap, kind of if it made sense for us as a community. What I could say from a high level is that a lot of people in crypto were pretty new to, or a lot of people in FWB were pretty new to crypto. And so I don't think that they had the same level of context about the Whale community that I did, having actively been a member of it for so long. And so when people saw us doing basically our largest swap to date with another community, I think there was a lot of thought around, does this make sense for us? Is this a good community for us to swap with? It wasn't until recently that when Whale came into our community and sort of talked and showed what an awesome person he was, I think people were sort of unaware of what a vibrant community it was. And then once they sort of saw Whale come in, all those, reservations were left aside. Another thing I'll call out here is that when we made this proposal in March, we basically had earmarked an allocation of FWB at $10, Whale at $28.50. At the time of the proposal, I believe that FWB was trading closer to $20 and Whale was closer to around the same 25 or something like that. And so on paper, the swap was far more favorable on the Whale side. But what I really want to emphasize here is that Whale has been extremely gracious in making sure that this proposal was honored sort of in good faith. And so when we executed this token swap, it was a lot closer to even values for both communities. And so I'm really happy to just share that, we were able to execute this swap and that our community feels really strong about, Whale and the partnership potential here, especially after having him take some time out of his day and coming to talk to our community. And, I hope from my time today being on this conversation, it sort of better shines light into FWB, what we're working on, and why I'm so excited about this potential for both of us.
Very interesting. Yeah, it's difficult to explain the Whale community for those who haven't experienced it yet, and who haven't heard Whale Shark talk, because when the man talk, damn, it works. But yeah, it's very interesting, and it's actually, this is the moments where the DAO is good, right? It's not when everyone agrees and then simply, oh my God, obviously you should do this, but rather when you need to be able to have a strong justification for what you want to do, and if it's going to go through discussion, that it can keep making sense after people review and present new points of view. So I think it's beautiful that we managed to make this happen, and I'm grateful for the community to finally get this involvement and this tie with a project by the end of the day shares so many aspects of our vision, and we grow together, and I love that.
Absolutely. I see here a great question. Are there any other social token communities FWB is collaborating with outside of Whale? I think the better phrasing is, are there any communities that we're not collaborating with outside of Whale? It's a very small world out there. We have early creators like Alex and Brian Flynn who are part of the community. We have members of the design community who are actively involved in FWB from a day-to-day basis. We have, like social token creators that are sort of working in the NFT space getting involved, rally creators who are getting involved in FWB. And I think while Whale is sort of our biggest collaboration project from a financial standpoint, we want to invite anyone that's working on social tokens to come in and explore their ideas with us. And so, beyond social tokens, I'd say a lot of NFT creators are in there. And moving forward, Seed Club has a weekly call with us on Thursdays where they're coming in and talking about the stuff they're working on. And for those who aren't aware, Seed Club is a social token incubator that, in my opinion, is the most connected in the space. And so having that ability to have them come in and share their learnings with us, there's a lot of amazing stuff brewing in social token space right now. Forefront, which is a project I'm really proud and active in, is also pretty active in FWB from a day-to-day basis. And so, yeah, it's a pretty wide design space right now, but I know that I'm extremely passionate about social tokens. I think it's the next chapter after NFTs. And so part of my responsibility here is just helping to invite and encourage collaboration between communities, because I think that it's a positive sum game, and we're all better off working together than trying to do it alone.
It's interesting that you mentioned, of course, it's worth a project showcase of its own, but why don't you give people some context on Forefront?
Absolutely. So Forefront is a social token aggregator. As this space continues to grow over the next 3, 6, 12 months, there's going to be 1,000,001 creator tokens out there to try and keep an eye on. Basically, Forefront is a forward-looking place to aggregate all value information from anything happening in the social token space. So today you find profiles from tokens to be able to talk about what this community does, what their token's used for. As you can see right there from the story section, a way to spotlight different trends happening in the social token realm. For those who aren't aware, they recently launched a governance token called FF. And what this did was it opened up an incentivization program for people to come and contribute to the community. If you look there, as you're scrolling, actually, that 2020 social token year in review, that was actually an article that I collaborated on, where we went ahead and we published a report just on all of the amazing things that people had done in social tokens from the past year, spotlighted a bunch of cool communities. Whale was one of our featured communities on there. And from my end, I just wanted to show that this is an incredibly exciting sector, and there's a bunch of really cool stuff going on. And creating a long report to be able to dive into different things is kind of just one of the many ways that Forefront's helping to educate people on all the cool stuff happening in social token space today.
Dude, there's so much stuff in here.
Deep rabbit hole. And this is the TLDR version of the report, by the way. If you click on read the full report there, you can see that this was just like the sneak peek of it.
Here we go. No, yeah. Oh my god. Okay.
Yes, we got a timeline on how all these social tokens started. Talk a little about Hugh. You can see Whale right there.
Mm-hmm.
Go into some of the Alex profit sharing stuff. Kerman.
Mm-hmm.
Permission access with KarmaDAO, REC, which is a project I work actively with. Some of the different communities here on a spotlight map. Tools, NFTs, trends. I mean, it's a great, I put a lot of time and effort into this. This was something I'm extremely proud of. And so if you haven't had the chance to check it out, 2020 in review.forefront.news is where you can find that full report. But recommend checking it out. It's funny because as I send this to people now, this was in January that I published this. And now that we're going up on May, I need to do a whole new one. That map has become even bigger today. And I think that there's so many new cool and exciting things that I'm really stoked to, 2021 year in review is going to be like 10 times as epic as this one. And this was already a fucking blaster, right?
I imagine. And just, I look at the numbers and I think like, oh my God, we came a long way, it's crazy. It's nice to see because sometimes we forget, but so much has happened and this is beautifully packed with information. And as I said, we for sure going to be trying to have a full conversation on this in the future because there's so much here to unpack. Beautifully done, and it relates with the thing like synergies on the NFT and the creator community space, the Web3, and how everyone is actively trying to grow together. Not every single space is like this one, where people often compete and it's a free-for-all, and however makes it like, oh my God, good. No, here it's about like talking about each other and growing through each other, and I think that's beautiful and that's different and that deserves the praise.
Totally, man. I mean, like social tokens are an incredibly exciting space. It's where I'm spending most of my time these days, just helping creators better understand how to use crypto. It's NFTs, it's social tokens, it's governance, it's DAOs, it's all the above. And so, I'm really thankful for the opportunity to come and speak to the Whale community today. This is something that I remember day one when Whale dropped, being in the Discord, just emoji reacting to claim 100 Whale tokens and seeing 500 people spamming an emoji link. Like that was one of the craziest experiences I've had in crypto to date. And so watching how far all of these communities have come and sort of what's ahead of us, like I feel very confident that this is a space that's going to, generate a lot of buzz over the coming months. And so I'm really thankful to be able to collaborate and just sort of share our insights with one another to help grow this space in the best way possible.
And it's still early. That's very important to remind people. We're closer to that day than we are from what mainstream adoption looks like, but we're working towards it constantly. I have a comment here that I think it's not a question, it's a comment, but it's worth sharing. I find FWB fascinating in the way that it leverages a potential URL network in conjunction with incredible Web3 infrastructure to really amplify their reach and effectiveness in many things. And I think that's a very, very good TLDR on what FWB is.
Totally. And I'll say thank you, Nightmare. You've been super active in this conversation. I really appreciate the questions that you brought to the table today. I've said it before, but I'll say it again. I think that Whale has, the most active social token community that I've seen. The members in it are some of the most active people in crypto as a whole. And so being able to loosely align ourselves with some token swaps to start is like the tip of the iceberg for collaboration here. But I'm really looking forward to finding ways for us to work together because I think we share a lot of the same values and all of our members would get along great with one another. So I'm excited to see what that looks like moving forward here.
Yep, definitely. And he asked really hard questions. It's good.
Yeah, that's what you want. That's what we all need out here. No more softballs.
Yeah. So thank you very much, Coopahtroopa. This is a long time coming, and I'm glad that it came to fruition. Beautiful to hear more about the FWB community. I recommend everyone to check out. It was a pleasure, really, and I hope you enjoyed because the community certainly did. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank you for your time. To everyone that tuned in, I really appreciate it. FWB Tweets is where you can find us on Twitter, and there you'll find a link to our Discord. I'm Coopahtroopa on all social media platforms. But again, thank you for having me, man. This is a really great time.
It's our pleasure. So I will be dropping the links again, and to everyone that watched, and to Coopahtroopa, have a beautiful night, and thank you again. Bye-bye.
You too. We'll talk soon, my friend. See you guys.
See ya.